This is TruthQuest, uncovering the powerful technologies, visionary strategies, and compelling stories that fuel our quest for clarity and authenticity in a rapidly changing world. From groundbreaking innovations to real-life success stories, we take a deep dive into how individuals and businesses are harnessing truth tech to change their lives and create meaningful change. We believe that everyone deserves to know the truth. This is TruthQuest. And now your hosts, Dr. Bryan and Mary Claire.
Welcome, I'm Dr. Bryan.
And I'm Mary Claire.
And we are your hosts for TruthQuest, where we dive into the new technologies and stories about people's quest for truth and the impact it has on their lives. Today, we're excited to talk about how new technologies can be used to do effective drug testing and truth verification, and excited to have Lisa Lee with us here today.
Hi.
Hey, Lisa, thanks for joining. Always we're excited to have our partners on and just help spread the word on different technologies and solutions that are being used to reveal truth and help people make personal or business decisions to move forward. So, Lisa, we kick all of our conversations off with folks, and we love to get to know kind of who they are, their background story, and then and that leads us into usually a very engaging conversation. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and the Genesis Shop.
Okay, I will. In my former careers, I worked for big Fortune 500 companies. I was a road warrior and then a vice president of sales and marketing for Sara Lee and their beverage division. So I traveled crisscross the U.S. selling to stadiums, universities, GA tours. It was a blast of a job. And then my 15-year-old at the time, which now we're going back 18 years, had a track injury. He ran track and he hurt himself in a hurdle exercise, and they prescribed him oxycodone. Of course, back then, nobody knew what, oxycodone was going to do. And a month later, he had his wisdom teeth removed. And again, they gave him Oxycontin, and he went down that rabbit hole.
Oh, gosh.
Me being totally oblivious to any type of drugs or, addiction. I had no idea what I was facing. So I quit my job, came off the road, and started navigating the treatment community, the addiction community, the recovery community. And I saw this huge disconnect with people seeking help and people offering help.
Yeah.
So I partnered up with it's called Operation Parent. It's one of our local school systems here. And they put together a monthly booklet of issues that parents are facing with their teens, be it too much texting, too much scrolling, drugs, alcohol, all the gamut. And so we started putting kits together to give to parents to deter their kids from doing drugs. So we were providing them with drug testing kits to take home, put up on their refrigerators, just to have a conversation with their children about, drugs and alcohol. And through that, I had people started asking me, I'm an HR director for so-and-so company. Can you come help us implement something in my workplace? Well, that's how Genesis was born.
Wow.
So it was 15 years in October. And now about 2.5 years ago, we added FBI fingerprinting and background screening. And now we're just tickled to death to be exploring this vision verification.
Gosh, that is, I give so many props on multiple levels. One, just your commitment to your family and diving deep into that journey, and then using that to support other families, what you learned and solve additional problems. And then take that and build a successful business. Like that's a beautiful story. So
What's the old saying? Necessity is the mother of invention,
Exactly.
right? In this case, we get to a point where something really, the pain that drives us to figure a solution, and then it becomes a viable and profitable enterprise, which is fantastic. That's awesome.
15 years.
I'm still very heavily involved in the recovery realm of things. I have a lot of contacts, and I keep up to date on what's coming in the pipeline because they usually see it before I see it through drug testing. So it's a critical component to my business.
So that leads me to the question of, because we've had a number of conversations and are just trying to get to know the community in general, and really coming from a place of is there can help, like teach us do we have anything? Do we know anybody? Do we in the truth verification community that can be supportive? So are you still working with treatments? Do you work with treatment centers? Are you still supporting the school system? I'm just curious.
Yes. Yes, I am. And I'm part of junior achievement. And
Yep.
whenever I possibly can, I try to get these kids on the right track, or at least, pull them away from the one they're
Yeah.
on, and to help with, their entrepreneur wishes too.
That's another more props. That's beautiful.
Mhm.
And in treatment centers and in the recovery community, it- traditional drug testing is that a part of the norm and part of the behavior?
Absolutely. Those people are drug tested almost every day while
Okay.
they're in their 30 to 40-day treatment stay. They're tested every single day. And the reason they do that is to see if the levels are going down.
Okay.
So, with my son, for an example, it took him almost 4 days, 5 days to start getting it out of his system. He had so much in it.
Oh my God. Okay. So that makes sense from a process perspective.
Mhm.
Thanks for educating me. I asked that very selfishly as we're just trying to get to know the community. So that's
Sure.
really helpful. All right. So let's talk more about the Genesis Shop.
Okay.
You offer a variety of services and you seem to be highly integrated into the community, the broader business community. So yeah, tell us more about kind of the different types of work you do, or the different things you offer, and then the different types of organizations you work with, because it seems to be pretty vast.
It is. Coming from my background, I'm used to playing with the big boys in the boardroom.
Yeah.
So, I'm not afraid to approach anyone. For me, in my drug testing business, manufacturers are my sweet spot. I understand their environment. Going on site to do drug testing for them is a win-win because it gets them off and on the line real quick, and there's not that
Oh,
probability
that makes
of
sense.
something going on between point A and the lab. A lot of people can stop and get, clean test kits, and there's a lot of ways you can alter a urine sample. But going on site, you take that element off of it. We do the FBI fingerprinting and background screening. I found that the horse industry here in Kentucky is
Oh,
very
that makes
favorable for
sense.
fingerprinting, so that's been
Yeah.
kind of cool to do some trainers and some jockeys and owners, and get to go behind the scenes. So that's kind of fun. And then I have professionals that have needs for professional licensing that have to be fingerprinted either once every year, once every 2 years. Child caregivers, teachers, nurses, people seeking visas, immigration. So the gamut for the fingerprinting side, it's actually its own little identity.
Yeah.
You're under the Genesis Shop's house,
Okay.
under that umbrella. And then here, just recently, we're rolling out this week on the I Can Know software. We're
Yeah.
rolling it out.
Yeah.
So how we're here from a partnership perspective. How do we best support our partners? So tell us more. And I know more than most folks, but
Yeah.
what are you planning? What's the opportunity you see for truth verification in the businesses that you work with and other opportunities?
Okay.
Where's your head at, if you will?
Yes, my head's all over the place, honestly, because I see so many potential industries for this product. Where I'm focusing right now is on attorneys, be them criminal attorneys, ambulance chasers, family attorneys. And if I can just sidetrack real quick, through one of my family attorneys that I know previously, we drug tested 3 children by hair follicle test to see if they've been exposed or digested or ingested any harmful substances in their home base. All 3 children under the age of 9 had been exposed, and the little boy had ingested. So we don't know how he ingested, but we're able to tell through this. And where I see your product and my partnership with you coming into play is the father was pitting it against the mother. Let's give them an eye test and let's see, who's telling the truth here. So
Yeah,
that
I
still
love that.
could come because it's still in Child Protective Services hands. But so the attorneys, Child Protective Services, one of our smaller counties here, I'm in conversation with them about it. And then so I see with the manufacturers and drug testing, how this relates is it is invasive. It is time consuming to come in and get somebody to use the restroom in a cup or do a mouth swab. It takes some time. But now with this technology, I see that I can send anybody a link to take the test for if they've ingested any drugs in the last 30 days, and boom, bam, it's done. I don't have to go see them. They don't have to come see me. And I see that as a win-win. And in November, I'm speaking to one of our county chambers that I'm going to introduce this to as well. So I see lots of possibilities.
Well, when I
Lisa,
looked
I've
at
got to tell you just really quickly, I'm fascinated when you said one of the use cases was about testing horse trainers, or I'm sorry, using the fingerprinting. Can you
Mhm.
dive on that just a little bit? What is the issue there, and what is the truth verification or identity verification play? I'm fascinated.
I'm not sure about the truth verification, but for fingerprinting purposes, if they race in another state, they have to be licensed in that state to
Uh-huh.
race.
oh,
So it's like a revolving door, and my name's gotten out in the industry, so I get a lot.
that's
Wow,
amazing.
interesting.
And then I work. You mentioned childcare earlier. I'm like, oh man, we've done the from a nonprofit, from a child safety perspective. It made me think of that. I didn't even think of. I have before, but with respect to from a childcare perspective, I can't use truth verification from a hiring perspective, but one I hadn't thought about just in terms of a market. So it's interesting. You're
Mhm.
already and you're from a fingerprinting perspective, just identity.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Correct. I could see that if there was an incident in a daycare
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
school, I can see using this as a win-win.
Yeah.
So, and just for again, we like to just to understand where people are coming from. You have a successful business. You have all these successful relationships. What made you excited, or what's the opportunity you see that made you want to say, "Hey, I'm going to take extra effort to bring a new product into my orbit," if you will?
I'm a pioneer. I'm an innovator. I like new things and shiny things to get my attention. I'm a creative person. So it got me excited because it's another thing I can offer to my clients and my community that sets us apart. And I'll go back to when I started Genesis and how it evolved. I knew nothing about drug testing. This was all from the ground up.
So you've got a successful business. You have a number of products you're delivering to the community, partners. What about this made you say, "I want to make the extra effort, yet another service or another offering a business"?
Okay. Well, 15 years ago, when Genesis started growing legs, I brought to market a service that nobody else was offering. Yes, there were labs here doing drug testing, but for me to be able to bring the lab to them and
Yeah.
be at their work sites really set things into motion very, very quickly because it was a good value for the bang of the buck. And as that evolved and COVID hit, nobody was working, nobody was
Oh, yeah.
hiring, the plants were shut down. So, as a business owner, I went searching for another revenue stream that would complement my current drug testing business. And that's when I stumbled upon the hair child follicle test for environmental purposes if they've been exposed. And then I found the fingerprinting, and I don't know how I found it. It found me just like you guys found me. So it just kind of has come to me. But and now just to go back just a bit, there are 5 other companies in my marketplace that do on-site drug testing. So I take that as a
Yeah,
kudos.
you're a pioneer.
Yeah, exactly. And so then adding the fingerprinting, there's not really a lot of people here that do that. There's 1 or 2 of us. So there's plenty to go around. So I feel like we're all healthy in that respect. But
Yeah.
now with I can knows vision knowledge, that this is opening up so many doors that I see I can stick my foot in.
Yeah. And you already have the just by getting to know you, you're a true entrepreneur, and as you said, you're not shy to approach the big table, if you will, and talk to the right
Right.
people. So it makes sense. It makes total sense. Cool.
So Lisa, this is super interesting. I have a harder question for you, and one that we may not have actually thought about before. So just give us your top of mind answer to this. But one of the challenges that we run into is so it's a somewhat ethical question, but it's almost a more relationship question where some people will say, well, I'm not going to take a lie detection test or a truth verification test because that just shows that you don't trust me.
Mm,
And we run into this a lot with counselors and with and even if you get into kind of a rehabilitation environment where people are like, well, we're trying to build a culture of trust and of a relationship, and this feels like it might actually destroy that rather than build it. Can you talk about how do you see lie detection or truth verification, building relationships, building trust, as opposed to tearing it down, if you do? Or how do you think about that? Because I'm sure you've heard that argument before as well. How do you respond to that?
The way I've been approaching it is, one, people are just, they're excited about the technology. They're not necessarily like, is it really good or is it not? We don't know yet. So I tell them, let's do a sampling test. And I explain to them that at least this could be a baseline. You can't use it in court, but you can use it as a baseline to determine if this wife cheated or that, guy gambled. So I see starting with the attorneys as my biggest foot in a big market.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And is that where you plan to go to market first?
Yes.
And to market? How would you market best to these attorneys? What are you going to do there?
I have a very good marketing company that I've been working with for 15 years. So they know my business inside and out, and they know me and my personality. And I approach some of my attorney friends. I'm a big networker. I think it's important, especially here in this community, that everybody knows somebody.
Right.
And so I have those relationships already established. So I asked some attorney friends, I said, how is the best way to approach an attorney? Because one, they won't answer your phone call. They won't look at your email. But what they did say is that if you offer a free lunch and do a lunch and learn, they'll do it. So I had these little cards. I mean, they're just little mailer cards printed up, and 700 are going out this week. They're almost ready to go out. I purchased the list of attorneys and within certain zip codes that I know will work. And you guys asked me in about 3 weeks, and we'll see how well this is going to go.
Yeah, I know that the attorneys they're required to do continuing education. And if what you offer counts for that, they come. That's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because what I'm offering them is that child environmental hair follicle and the lie detection.
Yeah.
So it can be applicable in both. And it's an interesting topic. So like you said, I'll be ready to turn in some news for you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're excited to hear how that goes.
Yeah.
The one thing that's just interesting is working with various businesses. Mailers are making a comeback necessarily, but I think
they kind of are,
because we get spammed all the time with emails or LinkedIn or whatever. So that's actually another indicator of your native, if you will.
Speaking of LinkedIn, I used that platform before it was cool to be on LinkedIn. And that's how I found my human resource people to talk to about drug testing. So LinkedIn helped me a lot. So it is a valuable tool, but I'm going back to basics.
Yeah.
We don't get anything in the mail anymore. So, with this colorful ocular lie detection and, child environmental hair, I mean, it will get their attention.
That's fantastic. I mean, well, we're excited to be partnering. So
yeah,
I think we touched on this a times. And we've done some videos on it, and even a blog post and white paper on this kind of relationship of how truth verification technology can combine with or replace, or the relationship of truth verification technology, in this case, what ICANO is delivering, and then traditional drug testing. We've already talked about kind of one opportunity to combine the two from the child safety and the hair follicle testing, and then testing the parents, if you will, if there's a dispute. We think this type of mobile, kind of easy to use, convenient technology can impact drug testing in your world. Do you think is it more of a addition? Is it a replacement of? What do you?
I think at first, and I'll know more next month when I address this group of manufacturers, but I think that right now, where it would sit would be a supplement to their current program.
That's what we've thought too.
Especially for remote employees, because you don't know what they're doing in their environments.
Yeah, I mean, you could test to say, did you even take the regular chemical test appropriately, right?
Correct. Yes, correct. Did you try to alter the test? Right.
Yeah, right.
So I can see that being a supplement. I'm going to give you guys a ton of feedback as I get more into that with that group of manufacturers next month. The other group, and you guys I think know this, that I spoke to a group of the State Association for Private Investigators.
Yeah.
Now that piqued some serious interest, and I'm circling back around the wagons to follow up with these people. I've had some good questions come in through email. good phone calls. So I think they think it's too good to be true, but I've done it and I purposely didn't tell the truth on my test, and it showed all over the place. So, I think it has a use. We're on our pioneer mission to find out how to be more effective with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, in our interactions with PIs too, it feels like, or at least the ones I've spoken with, a lot of fidelity work. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say
Yeah.
that's the majority.
Just surprised by that. I didn't know that. I'm like, oh wow, that's as you know, from a consumer standpoint, that is much of an issue that we attack is fidelity or
There's certainly a
infidelity.
large pain point out there for
There
that,
is.
for sure.
Yes, very
Yeah,
much so.
Well,
yeah, interesting.
we're getting to know that community as well. It's interesting. There it seems like to be a lot of there seems to be a lot of opportunity there as well, as you just mentioned.
And the other thing that I'm doing, it's kicking off in January, because we're coming to the end of the year here now.
It's
But
nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've hired a company that how do I want to call them? Very upscale neighborhoods, gated communities.
hmm
Where those people owning those homes are very professional. I'm doing a half-page ad and a booklet that they receive monthly, to see what that's going to, because if you've got people with money, and not to be discriminatory, but there's a lot of cheating going
Yeah.
on. So
Yeah.
if they're seeing that ad every month, I've committed for a year, so that's another avenue I'm going to track and see where this best fits in.
Interesting.
That is fascinating.
Lisa, let me ask you another question just on the same vein. If you look out in the next 20, 30 years, we love to ask this of entrepreneurs like you because you're constantly looking and scanning the horizon. What do you see on technology in your business? I mean, if you think about artificial intelligence or machine learning or robotics or maybe even more like whole face identification, things that are
Mm-hmm.
going on.
Mm-hmm.
What do you both see as opportunities and what do you worry about as concerns?
Well, I'm worried about AI because I
Mhm.
just think it's going to get too out of control too fast. And I think it can affect all of us, but that's just, me not being familiar enough with it and
Yeah.
comfortable with it to, let it do what it's supposed to do. I see biometrics 10 years from now being huge in everything that we do, from, like you said, the full facial scans. We're already doing thumbprint scans, access control into buildings. So yeah, I think it's going that way. We have to
You think
keep up
about
with technology.
DNA.
I'm
One of the
sorry.
things I've been thinking a lot about, no, just really quickly, this idea of instantaneous DNA evaluation or identification. Right now we're still sending off to labs. It takes time. And there's some of
Mm.
these new technologies that are promising that to happen much more quickly. I was watching a crime thriller with my wife the other night, and I said to her, I'm like, 100 years ago, this person never gets caught, right? But today we got cameras everywhere. We got facial
Everywhere.
recognition. We got DNA. It's like, it's super hard to be a criminal these days. I mean,
Mhm. Unless you're a cyber one.
yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
That actually leads me to, from a fingerprinting perspective, is there does fingerprinting still happen at an office?
No, the police departments don't do fingerprinting anymore. UPS tries, but they don't have trained technicians, so they're not always capturing the fingers
Oh,
appropriately.
okay.
So we have a scanner. We don't use ink anymore, but we have a scanner that digitally scans the prints and prints them out onto a fingerprint card or channels them to the proper state or agency.
Okay, that makes more sense for when I got my TSA pre-check.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yes,
Okay.
that
That makes
was.
more sense now.
I'm in process of getting authorized to do that. So there's one person here in town that does it. So I'm gonna give him a little run for his money.
Yeah, Lisa, you are very opportunistic, which is very exciting. I love it. Yeah, well, wonderful.
Oh, go ahead, Mary Claire.
Go for it.
I was just going to say, I having driven through Louisville recently, home of FedEx, is that correct?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
UPS.
UPS, yeah.
Yeah, UPS.
You may not, I'll just ask you to just surmise completely top of mind, but someone was talking to us about the opportunity of maybe using this technology to do theft detection for drivers, for
Mhm.
folks in the business itself in terms of who have access to a lot of these kinds of high value
Mhm.
targets. What do you think about that? Just as an idea, love your feedback.
I think that that type of business, that monster of an account, would be best suited handled by you guys because it's going to be a lot of red tape to get
Yeah.
into UPS. And that's even knowing people, and they have their own clinic. So they do their own drug testing on
Oh, okay.
site. But
Oh,
this is
interesting.
something that if I could find you the right person to talk to, I would give that to you guys to pursue. It's just
Yeah.
not something I really, it's too
Yeah,
much.
that's a big one for
And I
sure.
used to have a contract out at the airport, and I'm kind of tired of going out there.
That's
We drug
hilarious.
tested for American, Delta, and United. So we were constantly out at that airport, constantly. So
Wow.
Lisa, I feel like you could run a business development class for young sales folks or
that's
young
what I'm doing
business.
with Junior Achievement.
Yeah, you've got the
Got
natural knack.
approved for 3 times, I think, at some of our high schools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. You mentioned at one point your dad was a detective.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, there's.
He was a police officer, and then he went as a homicide detective. And then after he retired, he went to the coroner's office. And then after that, now 83 years old, he drives CODA patients around the tri-state area delivering bodies. So we call him the body Uber.
The body Uber. That's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh.
So I get my work spirit from both my parents. They were both hard go-getters, and never
Yeah.
a dull moment.
Yeah.
We have to say, Lisa, that we are so impressed with what you're doing. You're clearly helping a lot of people, helping youth, which we think is super important. I mean, one of our
Yes.
main mission points is how we help people move forward in their relationships and in their lives. And you're clearly doing that in so many ways. We're very impressed, and we take our hat off to you in terms of all that you're accomplishing, and really look forward to this partnership together.
Yeah, I do too.
This is going to be fun, and hopefully we can do some great work together and really help people.
Yeah.
All right, Claire, anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I think you just said it perfectly in terms of
Yeah.
who Lisa is and what she's built and how grateful we are. So thank you again.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, we thank you both. Thanks, Lisa, for joining us today.
Yes, thank
And
you.
You
Glad
bet.
to be
And
here.
Yeah, we're so glad you took some time. And thank you, Mary Claire.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you to all of our listeners. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, we hope your quest for truth is successful.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of TruthQuest. If you'd like to be a guest on our show or would like to customize a solution for yourself or your business, email us directly at answers@icanknow.com. TruthQuest is brought to you by the #1 truth verification technology available today. Visit us at icanknow.com to learn more, and stay tuned for the next TruthQuest.